depending on your time zone, because we are sharing different time zones. My name is Wakili Prestige. Welcome back to our show. And today we are hosting a very special guest all the way from +254, Wakili Steve Mbugua. Here in America, we call them advocates. In Kenya, it's Wakili or lawyer. Wakili is a Swahili name. And we are going to welcome Wakili because today we will be tackling a very sensitive topic, land buying process in Kenya. So let's bring Wakili to say hi to our viewers and listeners. So Wakili, here in America at Pacific West TV USA, we have viewers and listeners. You're going to say hi to them, and maybe you can briefly give us your brief autobiography. Then we continue with our show today. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Prestige, and I want to salute every single viewer who is watching us, either in the morning or in the evening, whichever time zone they are catching this show. My name is Wakili Steve Mbugua Wanjiru. I'm an advocate who is 7 years good standing. I've been an active member of the Law Society of Kenya, having served in the LSK Council as a council member for 6 years. I also run a firm by the name Ann Steve Mbugua Law. It's a boutique law firm based in Ruiru, Eastern Bypass. And our focus is majorly on commercial transactions, matters of finance, advising our clients on investments, and issues to do with real estate, succession management of estates. So we're going to have a chance to interact, share, and ensure that as you invest your hard-earned money, you don't lose it, you don't get caught, you don't get duped because of lack of information. That's why we are here to give you this free information for you to learn and ensure that next time you're engaging in a conveyancing transaction, you're able to protect yourself and your loved one from losing your property. So I believe it's going to be a great and interactive sessions as we catch up and share more on these processes.
Okay, Wakili, what are the different types of land ownership recognized by Kenyan law?
In Kenya, we have different forms or different ways of owning land. And before I even address that, I would like to start addressing the issue of the type of lands we have in Kenya. And one of the lands, according to our constitution, we have community land, that is land that is owned by communities. We have public land, that is land owned by government. And then we have private land. And the private land, you can own property either freehold. Freehold is where the land is yours permanently, and majorly this is in agricultural land or those land in the rural area where the title does not accrue any in terms of rates or in terms of rent. You don't pay any rent to the government. It is a freely owned land. Then there is something there's another form of ownership we call leasehold. Leasehold is where now land is registered or is a lease issued by the government of Kenya to the tenant, who is a landowner. And this tenancy is given for a period of 99 years. So by the time the 99 years are over, the registered owner is given a right to apply for a renewal or to hand over the land to the government so they can reallocate to another person who will be paying rent. So the difference between freehold and leasehold is that lease, as the word suggests, is a lease. You pay rent per year. But rent, freehold, you don't pay any fees. The government, maybe probably if there are any agricultural fees or other things, but there are no fees in terms of rent from the government. So those are the major forms of ownership that you find in Kenya or in the land that are in Kenya. So if you're buying land for investment, it's always important for you as a client to check the title, the nature of the title, whether it's a freehold title or it's a leasehold title, because either of the two will guide you to know the kind of documents you need. Because it is a freehold, the kind of consent or the consent you procure consent from the land control board. That is the office from the DO office where there was zest or their elders who sit down, listen to the people who are applying for consents, and give consents for the sale of those kind of lands. But for freehold or leasehold, the consent is given by the government official, who is called the land officer, and is based in the land registry. Is the one who issues consent for any sale or transfer of such kind of land. So it's always very important to know the type of regime you're getting into when you're buying this kind of land.
Oh, Wakili, why is it
Yes.
important for a buyer to understand the ownership status before purchasing land?
It is so unfortunate that most of our people lose their money because of one big mistake: failure to investigate the title. Because investigation of title, as lawyers, we are trained even in our training school, in our school, that the first thing you do when you are engaging in a conveyancing or the land and buying and selling of land is to investigate the title. Because as you do the investigation of title, you are able to establish who is the registered owner. That is one. Two, if that land has any problems. And how do you establish this? When you do a search, an official search at the land registry, and for you to be able to do this search, you need a copy of the title deed that of the land you're buying. Then you register or you apply to the land registry where that land is registered, so that you can confirm from the records of the government who is the registered owner. And according to the law, there is a principle we call the torrent principle. It's an insurance concept which the government gives to anyone who intends to own land, that the record the government is holding is a true record on who is the owner. That's why for all private or all for all land, when you do a search at the land registry, the information you get or the official search you get from the land registrar, it is a true confirmation that the record is as is or as reflected from that search. So it is very important to confirm that so you're able to know who is the owner. And number two, it also helps you to know whether there are any encumbrances. Because on page 3 of the title deed, it has an entry called encumbrances. You'll always see a whole list of encumbrances where people register restrictions, if there's any restriction on the land, if there's any caution on the land, if there are any charge, probably someone borrowed the money using the property, and there is a registered charge on the property. So this investigation of title helps you as a purchaser to know whether the land has any encumbrances. So if the land has any restrictions, if the land has been leased for a period exceeding 15 years, which is actually registered against the title, you will know, and that will help you make an informed decision when you're buying the land, know whether you're going to venture into that kind of business or not. And then, secondly, it's also advisable for people to visit the physical property. And that's why we always encourage clients to use a surveyor, because visiting the physical property, mostly at the initial stages, you have to rely on the owner or the agents who have taken you to see the land. But when you employ the services of a surveyor, they are able to extract the pin location using the coordinates and the beacon coordinates. And at the end of the time, they give you the pin direction of where the land is located. And after that, they're supposed to issue you a certificate of beacon, confirming where all the 4 beacons are in the coordinates, both the longitude and the latitude of each beacon. So that will give you the definite pinpoint of where that land is located. Because sometimes you can buy land and you find that you bought land probably at Kamakis, and they don't know where exactly those titles are reading. You bought a land bordering the highway, but unfortunately, when you take possession or you're trying to take possession, you realize that your land is on the 4th or the 5th row from where or where you were shown, which may not be meeting the needs or the expectations of what you wanted to do to use the land for. So it's always very important to use the services of professionals when you are doing this investigation of title to help you know the authenticity of the land and the title that you're buying.
So search is the first step a buyer should
Yes.
take while buying the land.
Search is the first step that you should do. And for
Yeah.
you to do a search, you must request for a copy of the title from the person who is selling the land to you.
Okay. Then to be specific, where can a buyer
Yes.
conduct a land search, and what information does the search reveal?
It is important for the viewers to know that every land, there is a register that is kept within that jurisdiction. If you're buying land in Machakos County, there is a land registry in Machakos jurisdiction. If you're buying land in Kiambu County, there are land registries in various sub-counties in Kiambu County. And therefore, if you're buying land in a place like Kiambu Town, the nearest land registry is in Kiambu Town. So every land registry where the land you're buying is registered is the registry that is nearest to the land that you're buying. So if the land is in Kisumu town, then the nearest land registry in Kisumu or that particular land. That is where you should conduct the search. And the content of the search that you're expecting to see, one is the land number. What is the LR number? The land reference number. You will see it written there. If it is Ruiru East Block 2, or if it is Nairobi Block something, you will see the number of the title. That number should match the number that you saw on the copy of the title. Number two, the name. The name of the owner that is on the search should correspond with the name of the owner on the copy of the title or the original title, whichever the case. So, and then after that, you will see another segment of encumbrances, where the registrar will indicate to you whether there are any encumbrance, whether there is a charge, a loan, whether there is a restriction, a caution that was registered against this title, or whether there is a lease or any form of encumbrance that have been registered against the title from making it being used effectively. Sometimes even court orders have been issued against the use of this kind of land. So that search will help you get a clear understanding of what is exactly happening or what is registered with the government. You can even do a further search, which we call green card record search. This one will give you the history of the land. It will tell you where the land came from, how it started from with government, all the way to the current owner. If there have been any transfers along the way, it will give you a more detailed information. So a green card search or green card record search is more detailed than just an ordinary search, because green card records give you the history of the land. But official search gives you the current status of the land. So it's very important for you to do that before you engage into any purchase of the land or before you commit any money in such kind of purchase of lands.
Okay. What documents should the seller provide to the buyer, so the seller can so the buyer can be able to do the search?
The only documents that are required is the copy of the title. After that, you're supposed to request also the copy of the PIN and the copy of the ID. Majorly, these ones are done with your lawyers to ensure also these documents are protected from being misused. And the reason why you ask for this document is because the outcome of the search is what you're going to cross-check with the ID and cross-check with the PIN, confirm that the person you're engaging from the copy of the identification document is the same person who is registered in the title, or the same person confirmed by the search that you have already done from the land register. So essentially, the copy of the ID, copy of the PIN, and the title deed are the major documents that you ask initially as you engage in the transaction, so that you're able to verify whether you're engaging the right person or whether you're engaging a quack or a crook who wants to steal your money.
Okay. What does due diligence means in land transaction?
Land transaction or involve the word due diligence is used majorly to show that you're doing a background check. And as lawyers, we encourage purchasers and our clients, majorly our clients who are buying land. And I always like reminding my clients that money is the only item that is moving or changing hand in the sale and buying of land. The land or the physical land is not changing the location. So before your money moves from your pocket to the next person's pocket or next person's bank account, it's important to carry out due diligence. And due diligence entails what we have just mentioned, title investigation, which is search, checking the land, visiting the land physically. There's always a joke we say whenever we've been training or we discuss about issues to do with conveyance, that there are three important people as a purchaser you should never ignore. One of them is you must have a lawyer. Number two, you must engage a surveyor. And number three, you must engage a local drunkard. And the reason why we use that aspect of saying the local drunkard is you must visit the land where it is. Ask that person you are seeing, whether it's a local drunkard, is a madman, or whoever you're seeing
Wakili,
near that land. You ask them. And the reason why you ask them, because they can confirm to you whether the land has dispute or not.
okay. In your list, you have given us three. Can we add
Yeah.
maybe local administration, or neighbors?
Yes. When you ask when I use the word local drunkard, I just mean you talking to the local people around there. It's important to ask them whenever you're buying land. And the reason why you are visiting to inquire from them, they will tell you that this land has a land dispute, this land has a case, this land has a family problem. So you're able to get a clearer understanding of what is going on. And the other place also, as you need to do due diligence on, is the nearest courts or the courts within that jurisdiction. And the reason why you're doing that is to also ensure that that land does not have a case court pending. This one is majorly done by your lawyers. They will verify through the systems in the judiciary whether such land is registered or has a case. And this will help you also buy a clean title. So it's very important that you check the courts for cases, check the lands registry, and visit the land physically to confirm where it is. Because these are the 8 matters that we call due diligence that are going to help you not to be duped. If you're not there present or physically, it's always good to send somebody to go at the physical place where you're buying the land and verify someone you can trust, your lawyer or your surveyor, so they can verify the exact location of the land. Many people have lost money not because they bought the wrong land, they bought a wrong title, but they bought the wrong location. You pay money for a land equivalent to be in a town, but the land you have paid for is somewhere in the rural area, kilometers away from the town, kilometers away from the highway, against your wishes and your plans, which means you have lost money, you have lost investment.
Okay, Wakili, maybe I involve
Yes,
this drunkard, this local drunkard, and
yes.
the boundaries uh, appear to be unclear. What should I do if the boundaries seems to appear unclear?
One important issue, as I mentioned, one person we need to involve apart from the drunkard is a surveyor. And the reason why the surveyor is coming on board is to help us identify the coordinates of each beacon so that you're able to know this land starts from this edge. If this land you're buying is, you're being told is 0.25 hectares or is a quarter of land, a quarter acre is 50 by 100 square feet, the surveyor will measure because he has been trained to do that and confirm exactly that the land, physical land that you're buying, it is the same measurements as the land, as the documents written on the title, because the title deed has a segment of the acreage or the size of the land. And that acreage must correspond with the ground. And for that to be confirmed, the surveyor will help us do that. Where the beacons are not clear, they will be redone. And if there's any dispute, then I would always encourage my clients not to buy land that has a dispute, because land disputes take a long time in court. And if you know there's a land dispute, there's no need of investing into such kind of property. There are other better clean properties that you can buy that don't have to drag you into unnecessary chaos and problems.
Okay, what do you advise? Is it okay to buy land by verbal agreement or sale agreement? A written agreement is important, and if it's important, what clauses should be included in a sale agreement?
Thank you very much for that question. And I would like our viewers to understand a number of things when it comes to sale agreement or the buying of land. That according to the Kenyan law, every sale and buying of land must be done in a written contract. So there is nowhere under the Kenyan system where you are allowed to buy land kienyeji, that you can do verbal agreements, agree to sell, agree to buy verbally. Every transaction that involves land must be written and in writing. You are encouraged to rely on a professional who is an advocate to ensure that they carry out and offer professional services when it comes to this engagement because of the amount of money involved and the risks involved and the kind of due diligence that needs to be done. This kind of agreement that lawyers are supposed to draft for you, some of the most important things that can never miss is must descriptions of the people who are engaging into the contract. The agreement must describe the parties. Who are the parties who are buying? Who is the party who is selling? After that, it must describe the property. Which property is being sold? The acreage, the location, if there is the size of the land and where it is situated. After that, you must indicate the purchase price, how much the land is being sold for, and how this money will be paid, and to whom or which account. It's always important to ensure not to pay this kind of transaction in cash because of the risk of losing money. So there is need to have paper trail. That's why clients are encouraged to do a lot of bank transfers, and because even the banks will demand records of where these large sums of money are coming from. So it's always very important to keep a paper trail when it comes to conveyancing and land and buying of land. That's in the process of buying and selling of land in Kenya. So that agreement, apart from the purchase price, then must explain how completion will be done or how the title will move from the seller to the buyer, how the title will be transferred, when it will be done, and the last but not least, it must have a provision of the consequences in case either of the party does not comply with the terms of the agreement. It's always very important to predict the worst because that helps us protect ourselves in case that worst happens. But in case it doesn't happen, then we remain safe. So it's always important to have the clause that in case one of the party breaches, what happens and how that is remedied. I also encourage clients that when you're doing this kind of transaction, kindly always know that if you're sharing a lawyer, both the purchaser and the seller are using one lawyer. The risks are that that lawyer can only be a witness in that transaction in case there's a dispute. And that lawyer is not regarded as your personal lawyer. So if you want to have your personal lawyer, it's important to retain a separate lawyer and to allow the person who is selling or buying the land to have a separate lawyer so that in case of any dispute, it becomes very easy for your advocate to represent you better and more effective in defending your interests in such kind of transactions.
Okay, Wakili, tell us something about land control boards and the role they play in the transaction of land selling process. And maybe you can tell us what are the steps involved in transferring ownership from seller to buyer.
Thank you very much. Land Control Board, as I mentioned earlier, is a department that, or is a board that has been constituted and chaired by the area DO. Let me use the word DO. I think is a common term that is known, but is the county commission, sub county commissioner. They are in charge of these particular boards, and the purpose of the board is to manage agricultural land. So the land control board is main focus is the focus is agricultural land, whereby the board is supposed to approve any sale, transfer, or subdivision of any agricultural land in Kenya. So any land that is agricultural land, in case you're buying it or transferring it, you are required to procure a consent. The seller is supposed to get a consent from the land control board There they go with their spouses, because according to the Kenyan law, after 2012, the Land Registration Act demanded that every spouse must consent to the sale of land, so that, or any transfer of land. So in this case, the land control board must demand to see your spouse or an affidavit exempting such a spouse from appearing, so that they can approve this kind of transfers or subdivision if you want to subdivide agricultural land. But if your land is leasehold, the lease you are given by government, then the consent that you need, you will get it from the consent to transfer this land or to sell or subdivide. You can only get it from land district land officer. Those are officers employed by government, but they sit in the land registry and they work to manage matters to do with land, which are under the lead category. So those are the people who give, they are under the land commissioner or the commissioner of land. So it's very important for any person who is buying land to know that if the land you're buying is agricultural, you must get the consent from the land control board. So we call them LCB consents. If the land is leasehold, consent is from the land commissioner.
Okay, Wakil, we have had some fraud cases in Kenya where there has
Yes.
been double allocation. You have two or more people have been sold the same piece of land. Sometimes we
Yes.
have had forged documents.
Mm.
Sometimes we have had fake title deeds. What are common land fraud cases do you know about in Kenya, especially in land buying process, land buying and selling process?
I think of importance to note majorly is fake title deeds. And most people have lost money through issuance of fake title deeds. And that's the reason why what we mentioned earlier, title investigation or investigation of title, is very critical, because it helps you even demand, or your lawyers to demand, for the physical original title to verify whether it has the proper marking. Every title has proper markings from the government on how it's supposed to look like, where the seal should look, where the seal should be, which side of the entry should be marked, where the registrar should sign, so that if those elements are missing, you can easily tell whether this is a fake title from River Road or this is a genuine title issued by the land registry. So it's very important to avoid that risk of fake titles. The other thing is, as I mentioned, is a wrong location. You are taken to a place which is not the same. You are shown this land, you are sold more money. Buy the land, the exact land you are buying, you will have bought it cheaply. So that has been a major problem, and that's why we encourage the use of surveyor to be able, or the surveyor services, to be able to know this kind of pin location. The other thing, or the other challenge that we find major, is what you have mentioned, double allocation. The land will be sold to more than one person. This case happen mostly where land transfer has not been effected immediately or within a reasonable time. When you're buying land, you are encouraged to have a written agreement that has proper timelines. If the agreement has indicated that completion period is 90 days, let it be that on the 90th day, you have paid your full amount of money, or you have been paid full amount of money, and you have been issued with the documents or transfer. The person who is selling the land to you has signed transfer documents. They have been witnessed by a lawyer. Their spouses have consented by signing an affidavit. They have procured consent from the land control board or the land commissioner, depending on the regime of law that the land is registered, whether it's freehold or leasehold. After that, you pay, or you do valuation to know the value, and pay tax. That is the capital gains to be paid by the person who is selling, and which is 15% of the value. And you, as a purchaser, you pay 4% of the value. And after that, now you lodge the document for registration. So this helps that this process ensures, or this quick process ensures that you have a title deed within the earliest time possible. Because land without title deed, the ones that people buy from companies which are share, they call them share certificates, most of them are not true share certificate, because share certificate means you owning a share in the company. And if the ownership of the company does not reflect you having a share there, or the land is not even owned by that company, then you risk the chances of that land being sold to another person or the highest bidder. And that's how you find people losing more money in the guise of investment. So it's very important as a purchaser to protect your interest and to always remember, in a sale and buying of land process, money is the only commodity that is moving hands. The land does not change its location even after 10 years of court battles.
Okay, let's come to the costs and the taxes. What
Mm.
cost should the buyer expect apart from the purchase price? And
Mm.
are there hidden costs that the buyer should avoid?
I would like the buyer or the
Or
purchaser.
are there hidden costs that the buyer should be aware of?
I think the major cost or the major thing that anybody who is buying land should expect, I will start with the buyer, is that if you're buying land, you need to be aware that there will be some cost, especially the legal fees for your lawyer. You must be prepared to spend some money on the surveyor because of confirming the location of the land and getting certificate of beacon. The other area that people most of the time are not prepared about is the tax. That as a buyer, you must be prepared to pay something we call stamp duty. And stamp duty is valued at 4% of the value of the property you're buying. So if the property is at 5 million, you'll pay 4% of that money. And that is something you pay, you declare with the Kenya Revenue Authority, and you ensure the money is remitted within the appropriate time, because failure to do so, that will attract penalties. The other cost that may come along your way is agency, if there are agents involved. So it's always very important to know whether you're buying the land through agents, and if so, the terms of payment must be very clear to avoid being surcharged and spending more than you had anticipated. If you are selling the land and you're a seller, you must be prepared to pay, obviously, the legal fees for your lawyer. And the other cost that will come along your way is the rates. You pay rates, the county government, if the land is within a municipality. You pay rent to the national government, to the Ministry of Land, if the land is leasehold. And then you pay for the land control board consent. You apply for the land control board consent. If your special consent is always charged a standard fee of 10,000. If it is a regular consent or ordinary consent which you book, is always 1,000 Kenya shillings. So they are not, they are fees you just need to know in the back of your head that they are going to be incurred, so that you avoid, as you budget, you're able to know how much exactly that land costed you. Because you can buy land at 3 million Kenya shillings, but you find yourself spending another 500, 600,000 on top because you had not even planned about it. So it's always very important to budget and know how much you're going to spend, engage your lawyer in advance to know even the fees in advance, because for the fees, they are straightforward set out in the remuneration order, the advocate's remuneration order. So they're always going to share with you those breakdowns on how you're going to spend the money and be able to plan accordingly. So other than those ones, there are no other extra fees you should be spending when it comes to buying and sale of land.
Okay, yeah, some people prefer buying land through land selling companies and other groups like SACCO. Okay, what are the precautions should the buyer uh, be aware of? And what are the documents should the buyer ask from the land selling companies? And how can the buyer know the legitimacy of land selling company? Because we have had Kenyans, especially those who are here in America or abroad, being scammed by these land selling companies.
Procedure, what I would like to mention is that we have had so many Kenyans lose their money, and very unfortunate through these schemes of people starting briefcase companies in the guise that they're selling land. And at the end, you find that they have not delivered the commodity they were purporting to sell. So, as a purchaser who intends to, or investor who want to buy land from such kind of land buying company, it's always very important to confirm who owns the land. Who is the owner of this land? Is it the company that is selling the land to you, or someone else? How you verify this obviously by what I mentioned earlier through the investigation of the title. If the land is owned by the company, then you can be able to proceed and demand the documents, or your lawyer going to demand for documents of ownership or documents from the company, such as certificate of incorporation, the list of directors. You're also able to do a search of this company and the registry is records in there is a registry record and the e-citizen. So you're able to confirm who are the owners of this company. Who owns this land? Is it the company? If it is a company, where is this company located? Then this company, how is it intending to sell this land to me? Have they subdivided this land? Because sometimes you find the company owns 20 acres of land or 20,000 acres of land, but they have not subdivided it officially for each land parcel or each plot to have a land reference number and title deed for each parcel. So that when you buy, you're able to do a search specific for your plot, specific for your acre that you bought from this huge tract of land. So that you don't buy a land, or you say you buy a share of a land you have not even confirmed who owns, or whether that land or that portion has a title. Because some companies will have a 20 acres of land, subdivide by putting beacons, but they don't officially register the subdivision to the district surveyor. So the land does not have a reference number. Each plot don't have a reference number. And that is where now you find the aspect of double allocation coming in. Because the same company, if they sold to you this plot at 1 million, then someone else comes tomorrow with 1.3 million. They choose to give the land to the other person 1.3 and probably either dupe you your 1 million or choose to refund you your 1 million. But that was not the purpose of investing together. If
Wakili,
have I,
is there a
is it
problem with your
network?
network? Is there a
Yes,
problem with your internet?
someone was calling me. That's why it was hanging up.
Okay, you can continue then.
Yes, so it is very important to avoid that aspect of double allocation by demanding specific title number for the plot that you're buying from this company, because these companies most of the time don't own the land, but instead these lands belong to other people and they sell to you. Then in the process, they fail to clear the payments with the owners. And ultimately, you find yourself now again being kicked out of this plot by the owner. And that is how you have found most Kenyans have lost their hard-earned money in this kind of schemes. And it's so unfortunate that that has happened. So we avoid this by ensuring we demand for titles for each plot that you buy.
Yeah, and that brings me to my next question: dispute resolution. What should the buyer do in case a dispute like that arises? And can a dispute be sorted out outside the court? And what are legal remedies are available to victims of land fraud?
If you ever find yourself in a land fraud situation, or your money, you paid someone money to buy land, but they never deliver the title, they have failed to transfer the land, or the land was never theirs, the first approach to treat this matter as criminal is always to remember that land fraud is a criminal offense. It must be reported to the police at the earliest time possible. But even as we do so, to know in the back of our head that the criminal process is majorly to have the person who defrauded you arrested and charged for criminal liability. Then your lawyers can also, in the process, be initiating civil remedies in court to be able to either kick out someone who is trespassing on the land or demand for land or specific performance of the contract in case the person who sold the land to you has failed to transfer the land to you, or even cancel the transaction in case you notice you're being conned and demand for refund. The other aspect is areas of mediation. People can talk outside the court and settle the matters out of court. But it's always important to remember land matters should be engaged in a structured manner, either through your lawyers or through the court in structured manner to avoid future problems. Because land are very emotional and land are very sentimental. So it's always very important to have the process. And because of the nature of investment that we put into the land, it's good to protect ourselves better.
Okay, as we conclude, can you mention one major mistake Kenyans do while buying lands? One common major mistake many Kenyans do while buying the land in Kenya.
Procedure will say that one biggest mistake our people do when they're investing in land and real estate is failure to use professional services. That has been the major undoing. And even as we engage these professional services to verify that you're dealing with authentic registered, licensed lawyers, licensed surveyors, licensed real estate agents to avoid licensed agents who are people who avoid these kind of problems that may come with being duped and losing your money. So Kenyans, you have worked so hard. You have invested a lot of money. Kindly, when you're intending to buy something in Kenya or wherever you are, engage professional services. Things to do with just using someone, I used to know someone, I know you, I trust you. When it comes to the land buying process, it's not about how much you trust someone, but how proper the process has been done. Just in case you find yourself, you need to cancel the process or you're in court.
Maybe somebody listening to you would like to use a professional service, and I'm sure people will share this broadcast. Then where can people find you? Are you available to offer that professional service and even legal services? Maybe you can say how people can reach you, even as you give us your parting shot.
Thank you very much. Yes, we have a wide range of clientele, especially in the North America and Europe. And we encourage our clients, if you need to get in touch with us, you can reach to us through WhatsApp, +254 716 579 390. +254 716 579 390. That is the easiest way of getting in touch with us. In case that is not possible, you can always drop us an email at info@as, A for Alpha, AS Mbugua Law. Those are major, or you can find us in our socials as AS Mbugua Law. It's always important, as I said, like part that we don't engage in the land or real estate business as if we are buying bread. It's not the same way as walking to a mall and buying a loaf of bread or buying some snack. This is a process that needs you to do it deliberately and intentionally to avoid yourself losing a lot of money and your hard-earned cash. That's why we are here to help you and help you navigate these processes.
Thank you, Wakili Steve Mbugua, for sharing these
Thank you.
valuable insights on land buying process in Kenya. We hope our viewers have learned how to protect themselves and make informed decisions when investing in land. We are so grateful, and we might need you next time. I'm sure our viewers and listeners can see your contacts running on our broadcast. Until next time, thank you. Stay tuned
Thank you
to
very much.
Pacific Waves TV USA
Yes.
for more educational and informative discussions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wakili, you have something to say?
No, I'm done. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.